Hello, and welcome to the 66th episode of Rambling Weekly. It's just gonna be me, a little old me, and we're gonna talk about, as the title says, crushing reality. And it's a little bit of a double meaning, but we'll get into that. So first, a break, and then the typical stuff we do around here. So catch you on the other side. Welcome back to that tune. There is Willpower from Persona 5. I haven't played that since it was released originally on the PS4 or something. It's been forever. Do enjoy that soundtrack though. Yeah, it's a good tune. I think it's like from how it sounds and everything. I believe it's it's like a not like it's like a mini boss theme or something. I don't think it's a boss theme. Maybe it is. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. I haven't played that in a while, and all of the tunes are not going to be from Persona 5 for this episode. They're going to be bouncing around a bit. I've decided to, at least for this episode, be a little off the beaten path. So, anyways, how's everybody doing? Hope you're doing well. I'm doing better this week. This week has been kind of bumpy. Like, for whatever reason, last couple of days have been super grouchy, and then just agitated. Just not necessarily the smallest thing making me annoyed, but it's just it is like, oh, everything is really just there to be annoying. Cool, great, thank you. That's what I really work on. It's having patience. Kind of the, oh, we're this is the, how to put it. It's like, oh, you have the trouble, you have a day of trouble, day of trouble, day of trouble, and it's like, hey, when am I not going to have trouble? And part of that's also because of just like focusing on those obnoxious things that happen that seem to just snowball and make things worse. I get that. That's kind of the mood, the vibe for a bit there was just like, oh, okay, cool, great. Part of that's also because there's really, like, I got the first full edit done over the weekend for the next story, and ever since then it's been like crap, crappy crap. Like, not a lot of nice things. It's like, oh, you hit this nice little milestone. Now it's time for all the sideshow garbage to just catch fire, and you're like, ah. So that's what this week has been. uh, yeah. What else has been going on? I think because the remake or the remake, the remixed remake of Resident Evil 4 came out. I've actually dabbled in the um, original version of RE4, the one that's on Steam that I have. That's the 2005 in parentheses, but yeah, I've been playing through that on professional a little bit, and I died somewhere, and I was not too thrilled, and I was like, so I haven't played it since, which, aka, was yesterday. I haven't played it today. Uh, I was so annoyed. I was like, I don't even remember what it was. Too, uh, it's somewhere after taking care of the Salazar's uh, the comment where he's like, your right hand comes off. Like sometime after that, there. Oh, I think it is it the. Oh, it's ascending the tower right before getting to him. I'm an idiot and dropped the little exploding barrel, and I somehow dropped it on myself, even though I could have swore I was away from it. But evidently not enough for the game, and it killed me. I was like, cool. I don't feel like playing this now, or at least right now. I yeah was not too thrilled on that front, but it is what it is. The I've done a little bit of dabbling in Mega Man 9, not necessarily speedrunning, but just kind of like, I need to pay attention watching somebody go through the back half because I don't remember the whole bit with Wily stuff. Wily's is just a bit of a blur. No, don't quite remember, and you kind of that's like half the game right there, even though it's only 4 stages. Um, uh, yeah, it is like half the game because you can because I know with the I think getting through the 8 Robot Masters, I know I've done it in like 11 or 12 minutes, so probably more 12 than 11, but somewhere in that region. Maybe not all of them. That's way too fast. What am I? I'm an idiot. Not 5 of those stages I've done in that time, but so probably more like 17, 18 minutes to get through the 8 Robot Masters. I really need to do the which we'll call it like the little I have the program. What are you? I sort of have the program. I don't know what it's called, but you hit the button to get the time splits. But I'm like awful at it, trying to figure out how to do that / do that without like mucking up everything. I just need to like figure out how to do that. I know some people like have like a little pedal they use. That would be pretty neat to get. But if it's a bit of money, I'm gonna be like, ugh, no. Pass. No, thank you. Um, that dabbled in. It's been about a week since I've played Morrowind. I'm hoping I don't slide back into I'll get back to it and then never do. What else have I played? Have I been playing much of anything else? Let's see. A little bit of Doom 64. And that's honestly probably about it. Holding back a yawn. Yeah, I played a little bit of Doom 64. I keep on trying to do the lost levels, and for whatever reason, I have a very bad case of luck when using rockets and just splash damage or just turning at the wrong point and it's just dumb luck, and not in a good way either. It's just like this is stupid. Oh, but that anything else really going on? Oh, I watched the new Evil Dead movie, Evil Dead Rise. It was pretty good. I enjoyed it. Kind of not nearly as we'll say traumatizing as like the first one, but I think it's more in tone with that one. There's not necessarily a lot of quippy, hilarious tee hee hee as it slid into with Evil Dead 2 and Army of Darkness. More of a things are a bit serious with some little sprinkles of humor here and there. So, but no, it was enjoyable. We'll say this though. It had been a hot minute since I've gone to a movie theater, and boy, by golly gee, there are a lot of trailers. Like, I think the time to, I think what was it? I think it started at 9, or the the showing was at 9, but it didn't start until like 9:27 or something like that. It might not have been that long. It felt like it was that long. I was just like, this is ridiculous. This is far too many trailers. I don't need to see all of these. Please stop. Please. I can't stop yawning. I don't know why. It's only 8:47. I'm sleepy boy. Ugh. Gracious. The other than that, not much else has been going on. Been just kind of, well, I mean, those are kind of big things, right? I finished editing at least the first round for the book. At least that's the big thing. Everything else is just kind of like, it's just little things here and there. That's really about it. So hope everybody's having fun with their week. We're gonna take a break and then we'll get into this topic proper. So stick around. Welcome back. That there is what's that? Challenger Invigorated. Yes, I have a little notes on a unusable envelope there because that's how I do things around here. But yeah, that's from Hajimari no Kiseki. That is one of those tunes. I know I've used it before. I think one of the first episodes back to doing the Rambling Weekly stuff. I think I used it as a bump break, what have you, and I really like the tune. It's a good tune. Yeah. So, topic, crushing reality. So I don't have a very strong line of things on this, but it was something that kind of came up into my noggin at one point. More so in the sense of a double meaning. So the first meaning is probably the more front, like the upfront kind of meaning of it, crushing reality. I guess we'll go into that. Foist, which is just the how I guess it's just how a lot of people feel like life is kind of just crushing us into dust. There's not a lot of hip hip hoorays, a lot of jovial yay. Part of that I think is also because of the focus to the bleak side or the just the bad side of things, as there are those small victories, but I guess if the you just kind of look at it as, oh, here's a slate and there's just little pinpricks of there's a victory. It's really not going to do anything. It's just kind of the slate is just losses. And there are a lot of things to either be worried about or just I guess feel negative about, down about, concerned about. There's a lot of that. But I think also part of it is a lot of that is very much out of control of like ourselves. Like, there's not a lot we can do with certain things. One thing I think of is that's really hard to be able to do anything about, but it's something that the screws tighten on us, is gasoline prices. So this is going to be kind of one of those sort of boring episodes because I'm going to be going into sort of boring things. Gas prices. Let's talk about gas prices. But it sucks. Like there's not really a good way to get around that sort of thing outside of If you're able to ride a bike, ride a bike. I know I am. I don't know if this would be considered a closeness to it, because I guess it is compared to some places I've lived, but the closest grocery store for me is like proper grocery store is 40 minute walk one way. So, which is all of 5 to 8 minutes driving. It's not probably not. It's probably more like 5 minutes driving, just depending on what sort of lights or if I'm able to turn on certain roads or not. But it's like a 40 minute walk. Um, so instead of doing those small things, the ones that are the killer is like ever trying to like travel somewhere, or if you have a vehicle that's a bigger vehicle that takes more gas, kind of. So hard to really avoid those, especially if you want to travel. Especially after the last handful of years, just kind of, uh, I don't know if it is simply just the people that I've interacted with more or whatnot, but it does feel like there has been this receding into just kind of staying within oneself, which is there's nothing wrong with that, but I guess there's always the concern that uh, I know that people have had this for me with trying to do things like writing, or I get really focused on in kind of just being like, oh, I'm going into the little hedgehog mode, um, just out of concern for what have you, and I feel like that's more and more what people are defaulting toward, um, and that there are instances of people being a bit more outwardly, but I don't know. It just seems something is off, and maybe it is because of the heightened anxieties of everyday living has gotten people more abrasive, more either abrasive or just kind of singularly focused, we'll say. More of just like, oh, I want to get this thing done kind of thing. And I can fall into that a lot of times. But maybe that's just something I see. But like, it's, of course, not everybody. It's just, it seems that that's what I happen to run into a lot. Maybe it's just from what bad draws of the of the straws end up doing that to me. Um, so you have something like that, something that is completely out of control of like ourselves, kind of thing. Things that they talk about, the war and that sort of thing. Kind of really can't do much about that. not not a whole lot we can do in that. It's kind of like trying to at least in our position, our lots in life, there's really not. It's almost similarly like you're in a neighborhood, and then maybe an apartment complex or something, and then there's two neighbors half a block down the street or something that are just completely just blah 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 blah. And you're just like, okay, not really much you can do to just step in to be like, hey, because they both might just turn that fire to you before turning it back onto themselves, or they're going to try to wrangle you in on one side or the other, and just you're going to get wrangled into that. um, I don't know, like there's not really too much. So I guess from my end, it's like I can't really, I can feel sympathetic, but I can't really feel how to put it. There's like, I feel like there's an anxiousness that gets added into things that's out of your control. It's one of those things that I just don't get anxious about. If something troublesome were to come to my door, we'll say, I'll just have to face it when it does, kind of thing. There's not much else you can really do at that point. It's kind of like similarly, sometimes you see those um, those articles that pop up about, oh, there was a super duper solar flare that could knock out electricity and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, okay. Good to know, I guess. So if I've got anything in the freezer or fridge, it's probably going to spoil. Cool. Great. But in the same hand, it's like, what else can you really do? It's not the same as, hey, Goober, you're living in you're in a tornado watch right now. You might want to do something about that. A little bit different. Or what else? What else would be fit into that? I guess like they like tangentially related to the whole gas thing is just like inflation of things. Prices of things have gone up. I was talking to a coworker of mine who has a farm and everything, and he mentioned pig prices, them going up. So cool. But good to know. But a whole lot of that's been going up and stuff. And really, the only thing you can kind of do on that front is either cook more if you can. That's really the big thing I can think of. That's but even then, that's really hard to help decrease spending with all that's going on. But that's kind of what you got to do with the thing when things the prices so much. Like it still floors me to see like gallons of milk still be like $4 or $5. That's just wild. It's just like, what? Wow, crazy. You know, to kind of pull back on that other, like all those things, those few things, because there's a lot more of those things. Just in the sense of, I guess, bleakness. I know always kind of tongue in cheek talk about the tank memes, nihilism, baby's first steps. That doesn't matter in the long scheme of things because of time and all that sort of thing. That's a crushing thought, right? Just the inevitability, the eventuality of that sort of idea, if you go that route and that sort of mental thinking. And it's just like, okay, cool. That, or just how I guess, you see these different articles pop up of just some sort of crazy behavior. People wilding. people being absolute just you see something like, oh, okay, wow, that's heartbreaking, but also just troubling. Wow. I guess all of that I get at is that those are things. A lot of those things are not a lot of those things. All of those things, outside of trying to stay away from crazy people, which even then that's a pretty hard thing to do sometimes. That all of those things have this sort of this external pressure, and that's not even including like any of the internal pressure you have, right? It's always that the crushing from here, but it's also the crushing and the exploding out that way kind of thing. You're turning into a starburst, and not the juicy, flavorful kind either. Whatever sort of mental malaise or that's what I wonder, not wonder, but think that a lot of the willingness to just kind of find avenues to be like, oh, I'm just gonna just kind of veg out or whatnot, is this is a way for me to just kind of decompress. because it works to some degree, and then but then it's just because of the nature of how we are that you do that same sort of thing, and then there's the rate of diminishing returns, and then you either got to find a new thing or you got to find more things, and then this is kind of like the addiction thing, right? If somebody say they play a game for 2 hours a day, and then it just starts to you might be able to get by for a while on that, but then that needling to be like, man, I'm really kind of I need to add something to it, or maybe play a new game or something, or you start playing a little bit more, or when you're playing you got some other thing going on, and it's just kind of play. That's not even including any of the social responsibilities that you may have, or if you've got people in your life that's vampiric, we'll say, or not doing you any good. And I hate to say it that way because it's not. Really shouldn't just necessarily be like, oh, how does this benefit me? Because that's a bit that's a bit more of a psychopathy. It's a psychopath. Just kind of like what kind of we're not all pawns on a chessboard kind of thing, but more what I mean is it like how do they benefit in the sense of are they could be something that they're making you laugh. It could be something that they are lifting you up. It could be something that they are just interesting, and you find there's something that's piquing your interest about them. That sort of benefit, not necessarily. You have maybe the friend who's always like constantly, oh, I don't have money, but I'll pay you back, but they never pay you back, kind of thing. I don't know. Maybe if that's an important thing to be like, hey, I need to square this up and try to figure this out. Not necessarily, oh, you need to pay me back for this, but maybe there's a reason for that. The behaviors like so, or oh, I'll call you, and then they never call you or something. And there's certainly, like, we're all kind of guilty of that to some degree. It's like the easier it is to reach out to somebody, the less likely it is that we do. I don't know. Maybe that's just my luck. And my behavior as well. But yeah, the social issues or struggles and just the immediacy, not even considering like all the other on a larger scale. But it's crushing in a way, right? Like it can really sandbag you. You just kind of be like, Now, I say all that for, let's see how long I've been recording. 16 minutes. Not quite 16 minutes, but the first part of it. I don't know how long this back half's going to be, but the secondary meaning of crushing reality, and that is the more I can't even think of the word for it. We'll just say the secondary meaning of what the title is intended to be, which means kicking butt, crushing it, doing good, and that sort of thing. And I think a lot of this, I've had I guess you would say, not an epiphany, realization, a downtrodden, sad thought. And I know I was really starting to be like, yeah, let's do it. And then just be like, oh, pew. I guess it's just a sad realization. We'll go with that phrasing. That yeah, people aren't really good at changing, and for better and for worse, kind of thing. More than anything, that I find that people are, for the most part, dyed in the wool that they are when you get to know somebody. Of course, there's those weird ones. The ones that end up changing, I think, it's more of an innate sort of thing. In the sense of like and it could be something either like catastrophic happens to jostle that into humming along. Like the determination of the spirit, the just kind of this not necessarily singular focus, but more of because you could have that focus and that drive, but external forces could still extinguish that out. You can try really, really hard and still be brought down by everything around. Like it's just, that's just kind of what's the, to paraphrase it, like sometimes you can make all the right choices and still lose. That's not, that's life. I know I'm butchering that, but paraphrasing from Beyonce and Star Trek with Picard, Next Generation. um, but yeah, like more so the determination of spirit, but also the I know I like to ask people, and I think I mentioned it in the previous episode with David, but a lot of times I like to ask people what their dreams are. Not necessarily just so that I'm aware of it, so that as a friend I might be able to try to help to some degree, but also so that the person can hear it themselves and kind of think when they hear it. And this is also on me to be trying to like, hey, what are you doing to do this? Are you doing this? I mean, what are you doing is kind of an open question that really doesn't help move it along. But it's like, hey, oh, you, for example, I know somebody who like wants to publish or like write a short story or something. So I was like, hey, I've worked with this editor and stuff. If you can give me an idea for word count and all this sort of stuff, I can totally let them know and see if I can work something out and what have you. That sort of thing, like to help along, or somebody wants to do painting or something. So maybe you get them not necessarily like paint supplies or something like that, but maybe something that they or like maybe instead of like that you like help you like take them to a place that's not necessarily just like a museum or something, but maybe they like to like paint landscapes, so you go to an interesting piece of nature and you do that sort of thing, or you take pictures and at least send them the pictures of it and stuff. That's I guess kind of like helping try to feed the fire that some people have. But I guess, yeah, to step that back with the whole unable to change thing, part of that is I really come down to it that people really don't change unless there is that innate kind of introspective, but also, especially an introspective, because you have to be able to know how you act to be able to then sort of, you got to be able to separate yourself then to be able to kind of pivot and stuff. Introspective enough, but also driven enough to do so, and like that's a 1-2 punch of some pretty heavy hitting things, and that is and that's just I guess a singular level of a bunch of different levels for how you can crush reality or get to it, right? There's that. I know a lot of people tend to, especially in the there's this push and pull of the hyper individualistic versus the communal sense. And I don't think people understand you cannot be hyper individualistic, but also adamantly communal. Those are two different, you are stepping in two different directions. Not to say that everybody needs to be lock and step to be in a like community or anything, but it's kind of like trying to herd cats. I would say if ever like you try to corral cats, that's I think the problem that we're facing in that regard, and yeah. Yeah. So like, I guess it. Not I guess, but people, when it comes to the crushing reality bit, um, certainly need to look in a personal sense what it is that they are wanting out of life, which is a hard thing to really conceptualize, to ask, to figure out, because what you want now could not be the case in 5 years, or it could be something you can't do at the moment, but then you revisit 10 years down the road. I think of writing. That's very much something for myself with writing. I I wanted to do writing and make like stories for games and stuff. And then I took a creative writing workshop class that had just completely irritated me to no end, and it just turned into buddies, let's all be friends. And it's like, well, I don't mind being friends, but you're supposed to be the teacher. So we kind of we're looking to you for guidance, and you just want to kind of like, I don't know either. Let's go. And it's just like, I don't need Miss Krabappel. That worked when you're younger to a degree, but in the same hand, no, uh, no, no magic school bus. Not right now. Paying a little too much for the magic school bus. This is a bit pricey, and the ride really isn't going anywhere. Um, but yeah, so you have to ask that, and you gotta like conceptualize, hey, and then you gotta also like put in the steps. It's a lot of work, right? Like, um, and then some people make it look effortlessly, effortless. They're just like, hey, pff, okay, got it, bam, boom, 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 and they just, yeah, we could say, oh, they just have all the luck. There's certainly some luck that's involved. There's some luck involved in everything. I mean, it's just that's what it is. It's luck. you know. Sometimes it's a little heavier. Sometimes it's pretty light. Uh, but there's you have that, and then just like the steps. There's just a lot of. But if you go too rigidly, it kind of similarly to like a building that's not able to withstand the shakes and tremors of an earthquake. If it's too rigid, it'll crack and crumble real easily. And so you got to have some fluidity with the plans you make. But then there's a lot going on. But then it's also like, what are you wanting out of life? And I think that's the problem. Is I can speak from at least personal experience on my end. I had the exact opposite of what you get with the tiger bombs and the hey, this is what you're doing from parents. I got the exact opposite. I got the hippie experience of, oh, just do whatever makes you happy. Um, I don't like that. I mean, it's one thing to say that um, to say that and then just to be in a comforting sense, but in another sense, it's kind of like, I'm a child. I have no idea what's out there. Why are you telling naive, dumb me to just do what makes you happy? Um, Games, playing games or something. That's an easy avenue. I just do that or something, what have you. Um, or maybe for somebody it's just I think in that sort of approach, what ends up happening is that you can either turn into the psycho of being neurotic to the point of like, hey, I'm going to now. I was never given these guidelines or these guideposts or this fencing. I'm going to make this fencing. I'm going to block you in there, kind of thing, and then you're not going to be able to breathe at all. And then kind of the cycle starts again, where it's like, just do whatever makes you happy, and it's like, lessons never learned. Uh, I am. Uh, I am. I don't know. It's just. I guess that's the dichotomy of the generation to generation. Um, yeah, parents were a little too just kind of hands off, but also just, oh yeah. um, and I don't like it. Think there could have been a little bit more. I don't want to say effort, but well, that's the only word that's coming to mind, and that's not that's not the word to go for. But um, I think because of how life is, it's as I said before, it's an infinite choice game. So there's really not a that is it's what we always want in a video game. It's the choose your own adventure, and it's there's no. I mean, we make our own right and wrong answers on it, but there's really no right or wrong to it. It's just choose your own adventure. Uh, um, and yeah, that's the I guess that's kind of the fun of it in a way, right? I mean, some people are just absolute psychos, and you're like, no, I want no part of this adventure. But then there's also the problem of, oh, I have the idea, but then life just kind of gets in the way. Social expectations or what have you. And then you got to make those choices, right? I know David and I have kind of talked about this in private, and I probably have mentioned it to others. But David's the one that pops up because I know we've. Where is it's like somebody running like the river? I don't know if you guys can hear that. It sounds really loud, and I don't think it's supposed to rain for a little bit. It's supposed to rain. Expect heavy thunderstorms tomorrow. Exciting times. But where was I going with that? It sounds like somebody's like washing like the inside of their place and just like power washing it. I really hope that that's not the case. Anyways, but you got if there's something that you're going for, you've got to be rigid enough to go for it, but also loose enough to not just cut a path, we'll say, and just leave be like Sherman marching across Georgia and raising Georgia and everything. Might not want to take that approach. Maybe you do. I don't know. I mean, if that is what I know, I've kind of done that. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna march to the Atlantic, and part of that's because of especially I have such a first-hand seeing of how just I don't want to say non-committal, but just I've got an idea, and then the steps never come to. It's always just kind of like, I'll put it together when it's happening, but it's not going to happen until you put those pieces together, kind of thing. I've seen that enough, just from like very, very, very like closely kind of thing, to where it's just like, oh no, I gotta no bothering, gotta do the thing. But yeah, but then it's like if that's what you're going for, then that's that's okay. Well, it's like that's one of the dreams for me is keep writing. Finish the one book, getting this next one. I'm gonna start up on the third one pretty soon, because that's how this works. Like there's I mean, you get a little bit of celebration out of it in a certain sense. You get a personal little victory, like yay. But also it's a two-parter, so it's kind of like, hey, I need to get on this other one. So yeah. But you got to make those choices, right? If that is what's important, then you need to figure out then what it is you're willing to sacrifice to make that. And maybe it's always going to be a dream thing. Like I don't know, some people are okay with it being this diaphanous sort of ethereal thing that's always just out of reach. That would just drive me batty. Like, I don't know. I must have been like some sort of criminal in a past life or something, missing the ear, so I was probably a thief or something. Chopped off my head. I don't know. Head's still here, but I say that because I have this very very short fuse, we'll say, to restraint. And I don't mean like personal restraint, I mean being restrained. That is not something, no. Not a thing I like. So when something's just out of reach, it just drives me absolutely batty. I don't know. That's really what I got. It's just the duality of crushing reality. You know, you have the oppressiveness of life, but then you have like the flower and the concrete sidewalk that just blooms in the determination of the spirit, the chutzpah, the drive. So yeah, it balanced it out. It was 34 minutes. I tried to make it even. Look at that. Look, I can do this. Sort of. Not really. Anyways, we're going to take a break, and then we're going to get in a quote. So stick around. Welcome back. That tune there is the arrangement of Determination from Octopath Traveler. It's a very good tune. Really, 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 I like it a lot. Which is something I say about, I should probably like it a lot if I put it on, on these things. It's like, this song's terrible, but I don't have to listen to it. You guys have to at least skip through it. That wouldn't be fair, now would it? Anyways, the quote I'm going to go with, I'm going to draw from the well of Thucydides here. And that is still, and this is from book 3. And this is still, hope leads men to venture, and no one ever yet put himself in peril without the inward conviction that he would succeed in his design. I bring that up as this is, I think, hints at, though it is not necessarily mentioning it, it hints at something that I guess you could say annoys me, of the, I say the thing, but perhaps it's the inward conviction that doesn't believe, the doubt that weighs in, the crushingness of that all, that in saying it, at least there is a glimmer of it, but maybe it's maybe other people will believe it, and then in them believing, that'll get me to go, which is, you can't really, it's not a healthy way to go about anything, really, to be incumbent upon others to, whether that's for your happiness, for I can't think of the other word. What's the word I want to bully. I want to say appreciation, but that's not right. Like adulations and stuff like that. Adorations. How about adorations? if your everything is tied into outside of your influence or your abilities to do anything about it, I think that's a miserable way to go about doing things. And I think that probably hints at, I don't know, of course not everybody, but I think that might hint at a lot of why people recede, and they may say something, but it's just kind of the words are wind sort of thing. There's not a lot of, rightly or wrongly, there's not a lot of confidence in doing the thing, or because what they want is completely out of their ability, their purview, what have you, of trying to reach it. So instead of even making the great steps towards it, to take, for example, my writing, I would not say that it is. I mentioned this to David. I have a very yeoman approach to my writing. It is, those who have read it can be like, it can be kind of coarse. Part of that is because I like, to a degree, there's certainly some short stories and books of Hemingway's that I don't really care for, but one of my favorite books is For Whom the Bell Tolls. And it's just, I guess that's kind of my inner monologue and stuff. It's just this very, very coarse way about doing things. I don't know, resonates with me. I taking the AI robot comparison of my writing style, I've gotten Lovecraft as a sort of style, which is kind of weird, but in the same hand, I have such an odd hot and cold relationship with things like psychology or like that sort of thing. Like I like the psychological, like spooky horror kind of ideas and stuff, but it's not something I really write about. The spooky horror is the people are the characters. They're spooky horrors. Woo! The monster was man all along. Kind of thing. But I do those things, but for me, success is not like somebody who may write for a bit, but then sees popular writers or books and stuff. They see that as success, and not. For like myself, it is more of the completion of the story, and even if it is self-published, is to me a level of success. Would it be at some point nice to be like, hey, yes, to maybe have, I don't want to say caveats, but like secondary levels of success of, hey, there's this. I did that with the first book. I was like, hey, if I can, super low hurdle to clear, but I cleared it. Got to start somewhere. So I'll raise it a little bit and go from there. And see how that works out for me. Sometimes you're gonna fail, and will that suck? Yeah, that will suck. Especially depending on how much time you put into something. But I guess you got to be either egotistical enough to believe that you're going to succeed, or set up. If you do not have the ego to do so, be logical enough to set up a threshold for success that will be able to satiate whatever it is feelings you got going for yourself. I don't know. That's what I got. That's what I got for this episode. Hope you enjoyed, cause I literally was kind of on the fence. I'm like, I don't know if I want to get to this. And then I was like, no, dig deep, Taylor. You got to do this. So, yeah. And so here we are. The end. And speaking of the end, before we get all the thing, the ending tune, I'm going to have the whole thing play out. I'm going to read it. It is Total Ending. It is from the Falcom Classics CD, album, what have you. It's a Saturn version. So I honestly, I'm not 100% certain. I think it's from the Saturn version of the Falcom Classics, which has like a few different Falcom games. I don't know if it's the ending theme for one of the games in there that they put, or if it's you beat all of them, or if it's what. I don't know. I really like the tune. And now I'm back to yawning. I don't know. It's past my bedtime. Anyways, I just really like the tune, and it it feels like it's of that era of like the mid '90s and stuff, or maybe a little bit earlier. I don't know. I could just be just fibbing to myself. I like it. It's being shared. That's all. The end. Yeah, and with that, thanks for listening. Watching, maybe you're watching it with my silly slime hat. Had to break out the slime hat. It's been a hot minute since I wore it. But yeah, that's I don't generally wear them when I'm doing the recordings, and it's just a blank screen. Sorry to burst the bubbles on that one. Anyways, thanks for watching, listening, all that sort of fun stuff. Enjoy your weekend, weekday, everything in between. Yeah, and don't let reality crush you. Do the crushing yourself. Be like Dogi, crush the walls. That's it. Thanks for listening. Toodaloo. Bye. See you next week. And yeah, take care.